Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new here, so good to have you. We are back in the car. We're back for another episode of my car chats. So basically what's going to happen is I'm just going to drive somewhere and kind of park up, and then we're just going to have a little bit of a chat. I'm not going to go into detail right now about what the car chat's about, just because I just want to get driving and then we'll park up and then we'll have a chat, so I might as well just do it then anyway. So I am going to move because I want to get going. Oh, there's a bike. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Oh, I almost stalled it. Oh, we love a stalling sesh, so we do. No, we don't. When I used to learn to drive, if I stalled the car, it would literally ruin my whole week. Because it would actually terrify me. Because then, like, I wouldn't be able to get it started because I was all flustered. And then I would get really freaked out. I've got an itchy nose. I've had an itchy nose for literally like an hour now, and I can't figure out why. Somebody told me they found it so annoying when I go. So that's for you, babes. So sorry that I annoy you. Okay, so we made it all in one piece, which is obviously a bonus. It's always a bonus to make it here in one piece. I've still got an itchy nose. I think I'm going to be itching this nose throughout this entire video, but that's fine, we'll just deal with it. Okay, so today's episode of Car Chats is on mental health, but it's actually on specifically my mental health story and my journey, struggle, whatever you kind of want to call it. I've not asked for like any questions or anything like that. I just kind of thought that it would be a really like good idea to kind of share my experience with mental health and my experience over the years, because I've suffered with mental health for quite a while now. I'm a lot better than I was. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I just think that obviously there's a lot of like YouTubers. I don't know whether I would call myself a YouTuber. I do like to make videos of myself, but I don't do YouTube as a job, so I don't know whether I would say that I'm a YouTuber, but like I just think that it's a really good idea to be open and honest when you have like a channel or any kind of like platform, even if you've not got a massive following or whatever. It's always nice to be able to relate to somebody, which is why I thought it would be a good idea to share my story. So I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. Before I start the video, I am just going to throw out a wee trigger warning, just because these kind of topics can be quite triggering for people that have suffered in the same way. I'm just going to throw out a trigger warning for like anxiety, depression, suicide references, suicide attempt references, different things like that, traumatic events, all that kind of thing. If this is something that you think might bother you or might cause you to feel a little bit uneasy, etc., then you don't have to watch this. That's totally fine. I understand. I won't find you. Don't panic. Just click off. I totally get it. But yeah, let's just jump right into the video. I think it might rain. I really hope it doesn't, because it's been raining like heavy the past couple of days, and I really don't want it to hit my windscreen, because that's all you'll be able to hear, and it's not cool. Okay, cool. I thought that now was a good time to film this video, because it was actually around about now 6 years ago that I was sectioned in a mental health hospital under the Mental Health Act. So I thought that this would be kind of like a good idea to share this, and a good kind of time to share my story with you guys. My mental health started when I was around about 14. I don't really know what started it. I had my first like boyfriend at 14, and when we split up I took it quite hard. I don't know why I took it so hard, because I was 14, I was a kid, I shouldn't have even had a boyfriend. But like boyfriend, we were together for like 2 months or something. It really wasn't that much of a relationship, but it was just like I took it really hard. I kind of felt like it was my fault and that something had to be wrong with me. And at 14, when your boyfriend that you think loves you and you think that you're in love with like breaks up with you, and you start thinking it's yourself, that I took that pretty hard. And I know this is a pretty stupid like start to the video, but I feel like that's kind of when I started feeling really kind of like bad about myself. But I think that even if that hadn't happened, like, I think that mental health was going to be in my path anyway, because it's just like there was something wrong with my wee brain. It wasn't all circumstantial. But it started at 14, and then I just kind of like got progressively worse and worse. I was like really, really underweight as well at 14, and didn't really eat that well. I've never really eaten very well from when I was really young. And then, yeah, things basically just got progressively worse and worse from there. I left school when I was about 16 and started going to college. And I really enjoyed college, but I didn't really take it very seriously. I just kind of mucked about. It wasn't really a serious kind of course for me. And then, yeah, so I was in college, and like I've said, I was literally just getting worse and worse. So my mum would like take me to the doctors and stuff and say, look, I think she's actually like really depressed. And the doctors would say, she hasn't got depression, she's got hormones. Like, she's going through puberty, like she's growing up. Loads of kids get this. And I'm sitting there like, this isn't hormones, like this isn't normal. But no matter what they said, no matter what I said, sorry, they just would not accept that it might be something more than that because of my age. So they were telling me that they rarely diagnose or medicate like kids under 18 because it's so hard to determine whether it is hormones or whether it is actual mental health. Now, we were telling them this isn't hormones, but they just would not listen to me at all, and then they kind of just left it at that. Like, it wasn't, I didn't really get any help at all. And then I was doing a beauty therapy course at this point. I was like 17, and I'd just gone through like a really, really traumatic event. Now, this wasn't like me and my boyfriend splitting up like that. It's not like when I did a trigger warning at the start of this video, it wasn't for me and my 14-year-old boyfriend breaking up. Like, it was not like that at all. But this event at 17 was absolutely horrific, and it was absolutely traumatic, and it set me up for years of pain later. It was absolutely horrific, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I'm not going to go into what it was because I don't feel like, one, I need to do that, or two, I want to do that. But I basically went through this traumatic event at 17, and my life literally just like spiraled out of control, completely out of control. I turned 18, I think, a month after I started beauty therapy at college, and I actually left, well, I got kicked out of college maybe 3 months later, because I don't even think it was 3 months, I think it was like 2 months. I only lasted like 2 months doing that course, because it was things like that I wasn't ready for after what had happened to me, and the staff were actually pretty shocking, if I'm honest. I told them, I didn't want to, but I told them that like what had happened, and I didn't feel able to do certain aspects of the course, and they said, yeah, that's totally fine. And then a week later came back to me and said, oh no, you have to do this because you don't have proof of what happened to you. And I was like, are you joking? Like, I was having panic attacks nearly every lesson. Like, it was horrific. I was having panic attacks. I fainted numerous times. I was skipping classes. I was having a really, really, really hard time. And instead of supporting me and being like, look, we're so sorry this happened to you, like, they have ways of going about pupils not being able to do certain aspects of the course. And they told me that when I told them. And then a week later they changed their mind and they said, no, you have to do this because you don't have concrete proof. It would have taken me months of court cases to have concrete proof. What did you expect me to do? So basically, they said to me, like, if you don't adhere to what we want you to do, you're not going to be part of this course anymore. And to cut a long story short, I left, apparently. They kicked me out. They say that they didn't, but they did. Yeah, so I left, and like I said, like, my life was just spiraling out of control. I was drinking a lot, actually, and when I was drinking, I wasn't drinking to the point of just drinking to have a good time. I was drinking and I took it too far, to the point of I was blacking out all the time. I was being sick a lot, just really, really dangerous things for me at such a young age, especially when I weighed so little as well. Like, no wonder I was blacking out all the time. I weighed 5 stone and I was drinking my body weight in alcohol. It just wasn't okay. It got to the point where I was literally in bed all day, every day. Like, I wasn't even seeing my friends. Like, I wasn't seeing Hannah or Emmy, which is not like me. They're my best friends in the whole world, and I would never, ever not want to see them. But I physically just didn't have the energy. I was so down and drained. Like, I can't explain it. Like, I just felt like my body was failing, and my body was failing. My body and my brain were failing, and I just couldn't do anything about it. Like, I couldn't, like, people say to me, oh, just get up and get ready and have a great day. I couldn't. I literally could not get out of my bed. Like, I was so down and so depressed and just anxious about everything. I felt like everybody was out to get me, like, in the world. I couldn't trust anybody, and I physically just didn't have the energy to sit and chat to my pals. Like, I didn't have the energy to do that, which is just mental for me to look back at it now, because that just upsets me so much, because they are like my best friends, and obviously they're still my best friends. They stuck around. Like, it must have been so hard for them. Like, they must have thought that I didn't want to see them, and that, oh wow, and that, like, actually gets me, because, like, I would never do that to them, and it must have been so hard for them. They wouldn't have known what to do with me. Like, yeah, they just wouldn't have known what to do with me. They would invite me to things and I would just be like, oh, I'm not feeling up to it, or like I would say, oh, I'm really sorry but I'm busy. I wasn't busy, I was in my bed. Like, horrible to lie to them, but I just didn't have the energy, and I just didn't think that anybody would understand, because I faced so much like backlash for mental health. Like, I faced, like, people told me that I was lazy, and people told me that, like, oh well, if you can go and like get drunk, then you can go and get a job, like there's nothing wrong with you. And that's not the case. Like, the only reason that I would go and get drunk was to block out how I was feeling. Like, that is I used it as a coping mechanism to block it out. Like, it wasn't a case of, oh, I can't be arsed going and getting a job, but I'll go out drinking. It wasn't like that at all. I literally drank to kind of numb myself. I was already numb, but I tried to numb myself from being numb. Horrible, horrible time in my life. I finally got diagnosed with depression and anxiety when I was 19 possibly, 18, 19. And the only reason I got diagnosed was because my mum took me to the doctors because I was tired all the time. And I thought it might be something to do with, like, I think it's like iron deficiency, is that the right word? Like, stuff to do with your iron, or like, I thought I might have some sort of like illness or something like that. And the doctor like asked me a couple of questions and basically like looked at me and she was like, you're depressed, like you're so depressed, like you're really ill. How have you not been told this before? And then she chatted to me for so long and she was just like, you are not well. And that's when I kind of started, like, straight away, there was no even like talk about counselling. Straight away she was like, you need medication and you need it now, like seriously. So she put me on, oh, what was the one she put me on? She put me on a medication that they start people on all the time, and it did not work for me at all. It made me really like tired all the time, which was daft because like it's meant to help with your like insomnia and stuff, but it made me really tired all the time, and like I wasn't well on it like at all. I was quite like physically unwell as well. It made me sick quite a lot. Like, it took a while to find the right one, but eventually I got put on mirtazapine, and that really started to save my life. It increased my appetite, and that obviously helped me to put on weight, which was just unreal because I had spent 18 years of my life unable to put on weight and just losing weight constantly and just being so tiny and so physically unwell, that all of a sudden I was on this medication. I was just eating all the time, and that's such like a welcome side effect for me because I really needed to put on weight. I can't really remember like the exact timing of this like next part of my story, but I know that it was in winter, and I know that it was obviously really, really cold and it was dark a lot. I basically had a complete meltdown one night. I'd been up at my friend's house and I'd basically come home and I was just in such a bad way. Like, I wasn't drunk, I was just really, really, like, I'd just had enough. Like, I just had like a complete like I'd literally just had enough. And basically my sister, it was just me and my sister at home because my mum and dad were away, and she basically like phoned my mum and dad, and I'm pretty sure she called the police or something, or she phoned to try and speak to the police. And my mum and dad basically had to phone their friends to come and sit with me. This was about 1 a.m, maybe even later, and they actually had to go and get them out of their bed, and they had to come and sit with me in my house because I just wasn't safe at all. And my sister was terrified. Like, I feel so bad for her because that must have been so petrifying for her, but she was terrified and I just really was not in a good place at all. But my mum and dad came home and then we kind of chatted things through, and at this point, like, I was seeing like a counsellor and stuff, and like I thought that things were maybe going to get a wee bit better now that I was being more open and honest with my mum and dad. But like, deep down I knew that something bad was coming, and I knew it was coming rapidly, and it did. I'm going to say about January 2014 time, I might not have got this right, because one of like a side effect of like trauma and of like depression and stuff is sometimes like you forget some stuff. So there's some things that I don't really remember. But let's say like January 2014 time, I basically was just the worst I have ever been in my life. Like, I can't explain it. Like, I was just drinking all the time and I was just sad all the time, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And what actually happened was, I left the house at about 2 in the morning, I want to say. My mum and dad were asleep, my sister was asleep, and I kind of like snuck out the house and snuck out into the street. And like, I wasn't just going for a walk, let's put it that way. Like, I find it really hard to say it, but I was going to take an attempt on my own life. And my sister actually woke up and noticed that I wasn't there, and I think she went downstairs to check on me, and like my mum and dad were like frantic running around the house trying to find me. Obviously I wasn't there, so they phoned the police, and yeah, they phoned the police and they actually got out the house and into the car to come and find me. And when the police got to me, like, I wasn't in a good way, that's all I'm going to say. Like, I don't want to actually say exactly what I was doing, but if they hadn't got to me pretty much in that 1 minute time frame, I wouldn't be sitting chatting to you today. And that's the reality. Like, I wouldn't be sitting talking to you if the police hadn't got there within that 1 minute time frame. And basically, to kind of cut a long story short from that night, because that night was so traumatic for everyone involved, I was taken up to a mental health hospital by the police, and I was there for quite a while. I was there for maybe like 2 hours, and then they sent me home. They sent me home despite my dad sitting crying, saying that he physically couldn't do it anymore. But like, my sister was shouting at the nurse. She was shouting at them. She was like, look at her. Like, she was like, look at her. Like, how can you not see that she needs to be here, and she needs to be here again, like, against her will. She needs to be here. Please keep her here. And I was just sitting there, just staring, not saying anything. My dad was just crying. My mum was saying, what do you want us to do? Watch her 24 hours a day? Because that's what they were going to have to do. They were going to have to watch me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the doctors basically said, yeah, sorry. And they sent me home. And my mum actually told me that one of the nurses, I actually still remember her name, and I really, really don't like her, basically. One of the nurses actually turned to her and said, we're trained to know when somebody's going to take their own life, and she wasn't going to do that. And my mum's like, are you joking? Like, the police literally had to, like, if I could say one thing to that nurse, believe me, like, so stupid. So yeah, after that I was taken home, I was put in my bed, and my mum and dad basically had to lock the house. So they had to lock the house down all the time. At the back, like, all the doors were locked, all the windows were shut, and basically I couldn't go anywhere by myself. We had crisis teams coming in to my house to speak to me and stuff, and they were basically, they were terrible. They were not even remotely clued up on what to do. They just used to make me even worse. So I would be doing okay, and then they would come in and I would just be absolutely raging when they left. Like, I hated them. And I was seeing a psychiatrist up at the hospital, and she was really, really nice. I can't actually remember her name, but she was lovely. And she was worried. Like, she said to me that you should be living here, kind of thing. And I went through, like, speaking to her for quite a while, but like, they've got like a time frame that they can keep you for. And then I was like passed over to somebody else, and I really didn't like this guy either, because again, useless. He used to literally sit there, read a book, ask me like 2 questions, change my medication when it didn't need changed, and tell me to go away again. Like, he changed my medication every time he saw me, and that's not what I needed. I needed to be kept safe. I didn't need different medications mucking up my brain. Like, I didn't need that. I was basically seeing him for quite a while, and then I remember I went to like a routine appointment to him, and he basically brought me in and he was like asking me questions and stuff. And then I had like another person come in, and he was asking me questions, and they were asking me questions like, do you plan on hurting yourself and stuff, and I was like, well, I'm not going to answer that. Like, what's the point in answering it, because you don't listen to me anyway. And I started like kicking off, and basically they kind of sat me down and they said, look, I think you need to come with us for a bit. And I was like, what? And they were like, well, what would you say if we asked you to come and live in hospital for a while? And I was like, I'll tell you where to go. I needed this 8 months ago, not now. Didn't think I needed it then, but I did need it then. And I kind of started kicking off, and they were like, well, basically, if you don't come with us, then we're going to take you and you're not going to get an option. So eventually, like, we kind of came to an arrangement. I had no choice, basically. I was sectioned, and I went and started living in hospital for a little bit. Basically, what my day would like consist of in the hospital, we got our own rooms, and we didn't have any keys for our rooms, so you were either in your room or you were like out at like the dinner hall or whatever, but then you would need like a key to get back into your room, and it was like the nurses that had it. So basically what I would do is I pretty much spent most of my time in my room, apart from when people came and visited me. And I was on an adult psychiatric ward, so it was 2 wings. So it was like the male wing and then the female wing, and then there was like the female sitting area, living area, dining hall, and then there was the male sitting area, living area, dining hall, bedrooms, female like bedrooms on the other side, etc. But then we had like a communal one as well, and I actually made like some friends in there. Like, there was a lovely girl that I still speak to now, every now and again when I see her. There was like a couple of guys that I got on with as well, and yeah, like, people were allowed in to visit me and just stuff like that. Like, I was allowed leave, so you only get a certain amount of time that you're allowed out, and it depends on how well you've been and how your mental health has kind of been while you've been staying there, like throughout the week, and that kind of depends on how much leave you'll get. So sometimes I was allowed out of the hospital entirely to have my lunch and maybe like see a friend or whatever, and then sometimes I wasn't allowed out at all because I wasn't safe. I remember one night I had to have somebody sitting with me 24/7. It was called suicide watch, and they basically had to sit with me all the time. They had to sit outside my shower when I went in the shower. They had to literally sit in my room like as I was getting changed and stuff like that. It was horrible. And I remember one time she was like arguing with me, not like arguing with me, like I was arguing with her, like I was really upset, like I just wanted to go home and stuff like that, and I actually chucked a chair at her. She didn't deserve that. She was lovely. She did not deserve that. But that kind of just gives you an insight of just how wound up I was all the time, and just how frustrated that I was that I couldn't live at home because I wasn't safe to live at home. Like, I had to live in a hospital, and it was just horrific, and I just hated it. And yeah, it really was just completely horrible. When I was released and I was allowed home, I still had like the crisis team coming in and seeing me. I still had to go for like meetings and stuff, and I was still on medication, and I still wasn't well, but I started working like 2 hours a week, which isn't a lot, but it was a lot for me at the time. So when I was like 19, 20, I was working like 2 hours a week at like a wee cafe that my mum and dad used to run, and like it was just to kind of help like my confidence, but I was still like out every weekend. I was still drinking a lot, and then I was still really struggling with seeing my friends and stuff. I was still in my bed quite a lot, but working those 2 hours a week actually gave me something to do. Like, I was only doing the dishwasher and stuff like that, like I wasn't doing anything major, but it gave me something to do, and it gave me like a purpose and a reason to get up, which was really, really helpful. But like during this time I faced like a lot of pressure to get a job or to go to college, but I really, really struggled with motivation. Like, that was one of the main issues that I really, really couldn't deal with, was that I just felt so unmotivated. Like, I didn't really want to get my life in order at all, because I didn't care. Like, I didn't care about my life at all. I didn't care, I didn't care like about myself, so I just didn't care about my life. I had no passion, no aspiration, nothing. So like this kind of like carried on for a while until I started a college course, which was actually called a Return to Learn course, and it was only like on a Wednesday. Yeah, I think it was literally only like on a Wednesday, and it was only like 5 people. There wasn't very many people at all, and I did that for quite a while, maybe like half a year, like 8 months or something, maybe not even that. And then I went on and I did like Return to Learn 2 or whatever it was after that, and that was like a proper course. So I was in college like 4 days a week, and I did that like for about 6 months, and I really enjoyed it. I did struggle with it a little bit, but by this point I was doing a lot better now, and I made loads of friends there. Like, I still care about the people that I went to that course with. They were lovely. And when like I was about 6 months into that course, I kind of was like over it at the point. Like, I enjoyed college, but I have this thing with like authority, and I've always had this thing with authority, especially when I was younger. I just did not pay any attention to authority at all. I had no respect for people that had any authority over me. So college was difficult for me, because even though you're treated more of like an adult at college, you're still like a pupil, and that was something that I just didn't like at all. I didn't like the thought of it. I didn't like the idea of it. So about 6 months in, I actually went and got a job in a restaurant, and yeah, I did that ages. I think like 6 months. Ages, that's not ages. What am I talking about? Yeah, I did that for, I don't even know why I said ages. I did that for a wee while, and that was only last year. And last year in August, so August 2019, I actually went for another routine appointment, and at this point I was just sitting there just like, why am I even going to these? Like, what's the point? I don't know why I'm doing this. And my doctor actually agreed with me, and I actually got discharged from all mental health services in 2019 in August. So what happens now is that after being discharged in August 2019, I had to wait a year until I could start to reduce my medication. So I don't know what I actually mentioned, I was on quite a few medications, but now I'm only on one, and I just have to wait a year from when I got discharged to be able to reduce that. So that will hopefully be starting to happen August, September time this year, which is actually only like a month, 2 months away. And I will start to reduce it, and I'll keep reducing it until I'm off it completely, which is just so exciting for me. Like, I can't explain it. Like, it's the best thing in the world. I don't know how well I've actually managed to kind of piece together my timeline of like my mental health journey, just because there's so much more to it. But if I do like a massive in-depth of everything, one, it can be quite upsetting to listen to, and two, it can be quite upsetting to tell, and three, we will be here for hours. But basically, like I said, my mental health journey started when I was 14. I'm now almost 24. So that's almost 10 years ago. And to kind of fit 10 years of struggle into a 30-40 minute video is a challenge within itself. So there are some bits that I have missed out. There's some bits that I didn't really want to talk about, if I'm honest. I feel like it is good to be honest, but it's also a part of my life, certain aspects of it that I might not really want to revisit, and that's totally okay. So trying to fit that into, like I said, about a 40-minute video isn't the easiest thing in the world, but I hope that I kind of managed to give you guys an insight. The time like between me obviously coming out of hospital and starting like my job for like 2 hours a week and then starting college, that kind of period of my life was quite a long one, and it had ups and downs, like major ups and downs, and I was still quite like, I wasn't actively suicidal during that time, but I was still suicidal. I could still like, I still had these thoughts and stuff, and I still dealt with them in a really dangerous way, like drinking, etc, etc. It was not good. That went on for quite a while, but there was no major like pinpoint events in that time that I felt able to kind of put, or like felt any point in putting into this video. So yeah, basically if I could say anything to my younger self is to just keep going. Don't give up. Like, if I had given up that night when I was like taken by the police, if I had given up that night and I had done what I went out to do, I would have missed out on so much. It's not necessarily about wanting your life to end, it's wanting life as you know it to end. So it's like wanting your pain and stuff to end. And there are other ways of doing that, but sometimes I understand that it feels like there's no way out, and I've felt that. Obviously I've just told you that I've felt that, so I do understand. You would miss out on so much. You would miss out on getting your first home, you would miss out on like opportunities, like jobs that you would end up loving, like climbing your way up a job until you get to the top, like owning your first car, learning to drive, getting married, watching your friends get married, like parties with your friends, night out with your friends, like days out with your friends, meeting your partner. Like, there's so many things that you would miss out on, and let me tell you, it's not worth it. It is not worth missing out on all these amazing things. It's not. Okay, I'm gonna leave the video here. If you are suffering with anything that I've talked about, then please feel free to speak to me. I am totally here for anybody that needs to like have a wee chat. And if you do want to know more about my story in a little bit more detail, if I feel comfortable, then I'm more than happy to share that with you. I'm gonna leave some organizations down below, like mental health charities, etc. If you would like to check them out, or if you're not feeling all that great and want to actually speak to somebody, then I'll leave them down below as well. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's a wee bit heavy for Wednesday, whatever day I'm going to upload this. I know it's a wee bit heavy, but I really appreciate it if you have watched to the end. I just kind of wanted to share a little bit about why I'm so passionate about mental health. Like I said, I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a like, comment, share, etc, etc. Whatever takes your fancy, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you do want to join the fam that I am creating over here on YouTube, then give me a wee subscribe. We're a lovely bunch so far, and we'd love to have you. I'll see you on my next video, guys. Bye.